Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Welcome to our Tuesday chats. Today, I'm joined by LibbyGardiner. Now, Libby and I'm sure we've met somewhere before, but we kind of got to know each other after being a part of BX. But so Libby's another Toowoomba local, and I'll pass you in a second, Libby, to introduce yourselves. But those people who are on here today, I've got my phone. I'm going to set it up right now so that I can check for questions and comments. So if you want to ask any questions of Libby while we're chatting, please pop them in there and I will pass them on. And if nothing else, tell us where you are. Where are you joining us from today? So Libby, please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm LibbyGardiner. I have lived in Toowoomba for just over 5 years now. I joke to people and say I've had a very checkered career because I've done so many different things, all of which have been great life experiences. But right now I am doing coaching in leadership and business and sort of just starting a business up because I've probably had a few years off wandering around. What am I going to do? You know, thinking now I've decided I'm seriously bored and I need to do something really constructive. But I have been studying coaching for a while, off and on, and having a good time. But now's the time to get a bit more serious about what I want to do.
Yeah. So tell me about your business and who you work with most in that space.
Well, as I'm only just getting started, I'm looking to work with small, medium-sized enterprise businesses to help them establish their values and to really lift their game, to be able to really set their whole business on concrete, not shifting sands. And by doing that, you know, you start by establishing your values, which are your core issue, and then from there you can go and you can develop your goals and your vision and your mission. You establish your benchmarks of where you want to be, and then it actually all comes under a category called environment. Then you can move on and build the structure of your business. So once you really know where you stand and what you are, then you can build your structure that now involves your standards and your standard operating procedures and things that are actually really going to make the business tick. Of course, while you're doing that, you also make sure that if somebody's got a better idea, don't knock it back. Nothing is ever set. You know, so it actually seriously involves building your team at the same time as you are building your business. Then you go on and how you're going to establish your implementation procedures. And then when you've got all that in place, it actually gives you the opportunity to employ the people that are, they've either stayed or gone once you've done this. And then you employ new ones. You can then get the people that really will meet your values. And it's much better to have people that meet your values and ideals and train them into the business than to actually get them for all their skills, because you can train the skills, you can't necessarily insert the values. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking to do with businesses. Yes. And and allowing the owner of the business to create himself a real leader, but to actually also allow his team to become leaders. They become a key part of the team, becomes the business.
Yeah. So what are the sorts of things that for businesses who need your sort of help, what are the symptoms or the pains that they are experiencing that you'll be able to help them with? Like, don't mind about the entertainment behind me from my pooch. So much for going to sleep. The joys of working from home. I'm sorry, Libby. And everyone else. Meet Daisy, my crazy Great Dane, who's decided that, oh my God, let me just move myself.
He thinks he's being left out.
Daisy, go to bed.
That's hysterical.
Oh, good Lord. Anyway. Yep. Life with a Great Dane. Tell me, so I will get back on track, I promise. The businesses who need your help, what are the sorts of things that they're experiencing where they may not have yet identified that the problems that they're having are caused by the sorts of things that you are, like where your skill set sits in terms of how you're helping people?
I once worked in a business, and because it got so big so quickly,
yeah,
the thing just diverted into silos. I think there were 8 sectors for a business, and it was just appalling. Nobody, everybody had become a fiefdom, and I just thought that is just so unfair on staff and everybody else, because you actually have to, because there's no, it's totally becomes stitched up here, stitched up there, and you really want to make your business seamless so that everybody knows what's going on. Of course, not everybody's going to know what the CEO knows, but or the actual owner, but by the same token, it gives the business a chance to flow. It's all right.
sorry,
It's about the great day.
This is what I get for not putting up my banner, because normally she does this sort of stuff behind it and people don't see it. I'm very sorry, Libby. But I hope those of you who are watching are being entertained by my dog.
So it's really an attempt. It really will establish the business so that everybody really knows what's going on, and therefore it can become much more seamless, and people can actually hop into other roles to support others, and people become much more supportive at that same time. So if your business is a little fractured and your team's not working, that is where you can, it will help, because you've got you've got your structures in place and people know them and things like that. And I just think, it's an awesome way, and businesses that have changed are having huge success with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mitch has joined us this morning and says hello to us, as well as Daisy. Sorry. I can see how I've worked in businesses that are like that as well. The one that in particular that I worked in was it was very big, but it had been very big for a very long time. But it was like the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing, and there were so many dysfunctions because the systems had not been. They'd sort of, this is a business that was old enough that part of it was very heavily paper-based, and this is only like 4 or 5 years ago when I worked, maybe more like 6 or 8 now actually. But either way, like the work that I personally did was 100% online, absolutely, and we would print stuff out. But then there was all this other stuff that was very heavily paper-based, and the people who were doing the paper-based work had no idea what the people who were doing the computer-based work was doing. Plus, then there was issues. So that was within a department. And then there was issues with this department didn't know what that department was doing. And, and then, we'd miss a deadline and, what would hit the fan. And it was just, oh my goodness. They needed your help. They probably still do, honestly. They're a sizable business.
And that's exactly right. And I think the fact is that if you have a business established this way, you are also able to you can support your workmate better, and your workmate better, because if you've been in workshopping in rooms together and things like that, you actually know where they stand, which makes developing a working relationship and potentially friendships going forward far more obvious. And when you've got those friendships working together and people going out and having lunch together and things like that, your business will flow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we all want, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because when the work flows, the energy flows, then the money flows. It's just when it's a functional and constructive system, everybody benefits. You have staff who are happier and who will contribute more effectively to the business when they're there, and all sorts of things will flow on from there. I can imagine like the impact that you would create when people take on board this stuff would be phenomenal in the way that they could change their businesses.
And it really is suitable for any form of business, because it's the base. It's the base. You then put in the structures that you need for your business, but actually getting those values right are absolutely core for the
Yeah.
business. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, do your standard operating procedures, etc. In some cases, depending on what sort of workplace and health and safety you've got and things like that. That's where the variations come in, and then you find the skills you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So tell me, of all the work that you get to do, what is it that you love most?
People. I just love being with people. I love talking with people. I mean, I'm certainly not an extrovert, but I do enjoy talking to people. And it's one of the things I'm really trying to teach. No, that you actually have to learn in this business is how to drill down with people, to kindly drill down with people.
Yeah.
What the core, to get down to the cause, to really treat the cause of why things aren't going right in the business or in their lives or anything, instead of treating the symptom which comes out the other end, let's get down to really treat the cause, and let's allow ourselves to be a little vulnerable so that we can start to move forward. And it is a case of, even in business, there are vulnerabilities that need to be faced.
Absolutely. So many
I
things.
just find that getting down to I love that, getting down to the nitty gritty and actually making ourselves concentrate on that person enough that I can ask that right question.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
30 seconds. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
There must be something about, I don't know, she's never been this active, I guess, because she's always in the room with me when I do these chats. But I've never performed like this before.
Hey, Kerry, she might be out of rhythm. We were 5 minutes late.
We were, yes. I was late getting down the hill after doing my mum run. So
I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried the dog might think the rhythm's out of place.
Well, anyway, hopefully now she'll just stay where she is, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's our entertainment for the week. Tell me, of all the things that you do, so what's your least favorite part about running your business?
Probably, I'm very good at making plans, and doing this and everything else. Sometimes the implementation leaves a little bit to be desired. I think, oh, yes, I could do that. But then I allow myself to be distracted. And that is a key thing I've got to stop doing. And I love a social life, and I do, and I'm fully well aware I do allow myself to be distracted with that. But it's not that I love making a plan, but implementing it sometimes is the bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so I me myself has got to manage me and myself better.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Yeah, bright shiny itis is very, very real in this head and business as well.
As you say, just sometimes I have to go and get that coffee.
Yep. Tell me something. What's your dream business look like? What are you building towards?
What my dreams look like?
What's your dream business look like?
Oh, my dream business. My dream business is one where I build it up so that if I'm not there, I've either got somebody else to do it for me, or, to have a succession plan in place. That is certainly what I'd like to have as my dream business, but just one that is successful, one that I can actually travel with. I don't really like sitting in one place at one time, and I'm busting to go and see the parts of Queensland I haven't been to see, and get out and about with other people, and to be able to run workshops and forums, and invite guest speakers in.
Yeah.
So I was talking to you about the other day is what I'm thinking of, working on now. And that gives me the opportunity to mix and match whom you can, talk, who you can build with, who you can work with. And so, yeah, it is, I guess it's multifaceted, because I guess I would probably say I'm not the most focused person in the world, and I love the variety coming in. That's why I've worked so many different jobs in so many different fields, because I'll have a touch of this and I'll have a touch of that, and it makes life interesting.
Yeah, yeah, similar. Like, it's there's but there's so much to be learned from working in all the different spaces. There's so many, all the different perspectives, the different challenges, the different ways that people overcome those challenges. I've worked in probably 15 different industries, and I love the fact that I've had that experience.
Yeah.
Because you've got such a, it's also, though, when you then meet new people, it's so much easier to find a little bit of common ground.
Much. That's why, this is fine. But remember when we had that coffee, we found who we knew and who we didn't know, and all these connections, which you're not going to do here.
Yeah.
So that's why, I just love building connections as well.
Yes.
And then when time goes on, you have got the right person at the right place to be able to introduce to, either help you with your workshop or be a presenter and things like that. So that is ultimately, listen, money is part of the goal, but there's more to life.
Yeah.
It really is truly more to life, but, it doesn't go astray.
This is true. Speaking of money, I know you, in my little thing that I sent out, you mentioned that you work with the Royal Flying Doctor. Oh no, is that the right full term for them?
Yes, that's my charity of choice at the moment.
Yeah. So how are you? Tell me about them and like what you're doing at the moment in terms of supporting them.
Okay, I first became, I have known about the Royal Flying Doctor Service. We all know about the Royal Flying Doctor Service. We grow up with it. But I was out at Charleville for a year, and I probably only lived sort of, 2 k's from the airport. And sometimes you'd have a plane coming over at night, and you would have to know, coming over very low at night, and you'd have to know it was the RFDS coming in. You just think, oh, wow, how awesome is that? How amazing that we have that service here in Australia. And so when I came back into Toowoomba, I found there was an auxiliary here in Toowoomba. So I joined it sort of pretty well, so almost straight away as soon as I came in, because I knew some people there. Once again, the connections I knew. And so I've been with the RFDS for 5 years. I've been treasurer for about 3, I think, and I'm now president. So ready to... it's been pretty low key, and I'm really looking to raise its profile. We've got an entirely new executive now, so really looking to raise its profile and, run corporate golf days and things like that to make some serious money, because I just think it's so important that it is, and I believe, I think once we've got our profile raised, I have this idea that, maybe we and Lifelight can work a bit more closely together, because in some ways we are serving the same population. So I think the mere fact that if we can actually start to link here into Toowoomba, which is, with the planes fly in here as well as the choppers and things like that, and some RFDS planes fly into Toowoomba Hospital as well, to put people in Toowoomba Hospital. So I just think it's an ideal opportunity that 2 big aeromedical organisations work together. Even in Bundaberg, they actually have the same transfer station. Yeah, righto. Yeah. So it's not unusual that it's happened, because it's just done on costs as well as anything. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I really do enjoy it. The people in Brisbane, in head office in Brisbane, are just wonderful and so supportive, and so it's a pleasure to be able to give back. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. And look, I agree with you. Once you've found that particular charity that is yours, that you are personally passionate about, it so makes the whole process of giving back so much easier, doesn't it? Yeah, I've had to make a significant change, because in New South Wales, I was very tied up with the Children's Medical Research Institute, which is based in Sydney, and it sort of researchers into so many children's diseases, and some of the work they have done is just amazing. So I think I did about 24, 25 years with the CMRI in Corinda. So I've had to change my charity of choice.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, no, I've always, I guess, don't know if it's the way I grew up or what, but it is, I guess, as a family, I think some ways too, we've actually always been involved in doing things for other people. So it's just a flow on from that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like my family was a little the same, like when we were kids, we were always involved. Mum and Dad were always involved in the P&C or the bus committee or the, they helped run a camp draft for our school. Dad's been show president. We worked out the other day that somebody from our family has either been, I think mostly running the cattle section of the local show for something like 35 years. So whether it was my dad or one of my brothers, I can't remember exactly the details of it. And one of them, somebody will, if they know my family, will correct me. But yeah.
It's been shows or football, or I know Mum was definitely CWA and things, things like that. So it just goes with the family. I think I've been someone who said I'm never going near CWA again when I used to watch Mum struggle with doing the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a family thing that we all do, one thing or another.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we all find some way to give back, and whatever that looks like for us, for the individual. like there's so many amazing charities that are out, and there seems to be like new ones coming up all the time. Not to say that and they're not any more or less important than the ones that already exist, but there are so many options out there that literally everybody can find something that they resonate with, so that they can give to the greater good in whatever that looks like.
Yeah, there's really no excuse, because there's always something out there. This year I've actually touched a little bit on working with the Mulberry Project as well here in town, which has been fun, going up and giving them a few hours gardening and things like that.
What is the Mulberry Project? I've heard of that one, but I don't know the details.
The Mulberry Project was started by a girl called Louise Noble, and she started gardening. They do it at the showground. Gardening and giving them experience. They're now working very closely with the migrant community and the refugee community and getting them jobs. So, they're getting them, and also getting them through courses and things like that. So this year they've just been able to actually really reach out and step up. So, they're sort of getting people trained, and then they're taking them out to some of the big hort farms and getting them work out there, picking and things like that, which is just so great for the community and with the ag shortage of workers in ag at the moment. It's so great to have these people that, that heavens only knows what they've done when they've been somewhere else, and our system just doesn't allow them to slot in, so they really have to start from ground up. But getting them on the ground to start with is a good place to start. Yeah, nice.
Like I said, I'd seen that they existed, but I hadn't sort of delved into it in amongst all the other things. So that's great. Thank you. So if people want to work with you, sorry, just coming back to your business, Impact Leadership. So if people want to work with you, how would they start that process?
I have to tell you, I'm very slack on social media, but I do have a Facebook page called Impact Leadership, or else the LibbyGardiner Facebook page would find me just as easily. So that is probably the best place. And I'm just in the process of building a website so that I will have that there. So yes, while I'm organising this, I think, as I spoke to you about the other day, organising this workshop forum out at Dalby, somebody said to me, "You are going to have a website," and I go, it'll probably be right to start with a pretty rough and ready Wix website, but if that serves its purpose to start with. So I'll try and have that up in the next few weeks so that I've got that. But certainly the Impact Leadership or the LibbyGardiner Facebook pages are the best place to get me. Okay. And if you go into, if you stalk me, you'll find my email address in there.
feel free to like drop those links into the chat too, because this is, as you know, it gets streamed to my personal profile and then shared into other platforms, and you know, wherever.
Yeah. And I've got the business name actually sitting up beside my name on on here too. So yes,
I should do that to with my own, but you know, to go back and do these things.
I'm doing some mentoring with the Australian Rural Leadership Foundation with the for the Drought Resilience Fund, and everybody sort of gets on there with their Aboriginal country. I'm sitting going, it's a bit difficult around here. So I've got my business name up there will do. But that's fun too. I've enjoyed doing that mentoring.
Yeah, lovely. That's awesome.
Mm.
Have you got an offer that's running at the moment with your business that you wanted to share with people today?
Have I got, sorry?
You mentioned in our chat before that you had an offer running for people who the sessions with the
It's all right, I'm just looking behind you.
What's she doing now?
Oh no, he sat down now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, my Daisy dog.
Sorry, that was distracting.
That's all right. So yeah, so if people want to, I guess if people want to find out what you're doing, just like I said, just jump into that.
And I will be. I'm going to make myself get far more proactive on my Facebook page. So, and because I actually automatically just share it to mine, and I'll be linking in with a lot more, conning a lot more friends come onto the work one to share the love.
Yes, yeah. It's important, and it's such a challenge to get a decent digital footprint when it comes to, or social media footprint when it comes to sharing, particularly as you're building, and getting, I know, you said you sort of, getting things up and off the ground, and you've got all these ideas and working out where to focus your attention and how to make it all the moving parts work. Because oh my goodness, there's so many moving parts when you're getting something off the ground.
And most of us, when we start out on our own, we do scratch for cash. So you've actually got to be really careful about how you go about what you can put in place, when you can put it in place. So anyway, so everything will be good in the future. Yeah, I did a lot of like exchange sort of stuff where someone would my first workshop, my first website, the lady who built that, I coached her, and we did stuff backwards and forwards and did exchange services rather than exchange cash when I first got started. Yeah. Which has its pros and cons. I look back at it now and I think, well, maybe she should have invoiced me and I should have invoiced her, and it would have all just been, it like, so that there was a little bit more kind of accountability. But how the system started, the whole world money exchange started on bartering. And that's exactly what that was. I'll do something for you if you can do something for me. It's bartering. That's how the whole financial system started. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Anyway, but no, and it's, my the website images and stuff have been updated, but the foundations of it are still there because it works, and I don't need a super complex website at this point. No, I'll get that up and running because I want to put this function on it. So so I'm really working on presenting out in Dalby a workshop to celebrate International Rural Women's Day, and that will be in mid-October. And sort of 4 guest speakers, awesome lunch and things like that. So that's and that will probably be very distracting for a while you do a function, as we have talked about with your retreat. They're a big beast to move, but once they're in motion, they are magic. Like it's just So I've been to 1 or 2 of them, and I just think, no, this is a good space to fill. Yeah, that's awesome. Have you got the event for that Dolby workshop on your business page yet on Facebook? I'm just getting in touch. I'll probably have that up next year, purely because next week I'm. Hang on. It'll be up next year as well, but this year. We'll have one next year as well, but let's start with this year. I'm just trying to get, because I was going to have it here in town. It was suggested that I moved out there because it'd probably be a much more agri type topics. So I've moved it out to Dalby because that's where the, bigger, wider circle is.
Yes.
And so yes, I'm just trying to get hold of somebody to actually work out which venue I'm going to use, and then I will start putting it up. And I've sort of got to come across a wonderful person in Brisbane who's just flowing in with ideas of people to talk to, support crews,
Awesome.
which is so exciting. And I've got to get last night I think I spent some time putting together a sponsorship proposal. There's all sorts of things, and you've got to work out your marketing. And I think again, but anyway, we will get there because I'm determined to do something positive for others.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely love it. So as we wrap up for the day, I would like to ask one more thing.
Ooh.
What's your top tip? I don't know about business, about life, whatever, but what's your top tip that you want to share with people today?
Appreciate your own abilities. Acknowledge you've got a huge number of abilities that we think we don't have, but we do. Just sort of get them out of the closet and use them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Appreciate yourself. Give yourself that rest. Give yourself that coffee. Give yourself that morning tea if you really want it, because you don't do it all the time, and most of the time half the time you're beating yourself up anyhow. So appreciate yourself more.
Very wise words, Libby. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So if anyone, let me just check back in on my questions. I don't think we had any others pop up today. If anyone has any questions for Libby, please pop them in the chat. Obviously, she will be notified of them. And also, Libby, please drop your links in there so that people can find you if they wanted to sort of extend the conversation with you.
Okay, I shall do that.
And thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It's been fun.
Thank you. Bye from me.
Bye.